There's a lot of crossover in our community with Irish culture. So this is a little piece of audio that's been running through my mind all day, as I just remembered that thing that we talked about in way back in episode 7, Sinner Slop, about Ryan Coogler talking about Irish people and Irish culture. I'm trying to master the way he says culture. But he says crossover. He says there's a lot of crossover. And it struck me. I was like, wait, oh my God. Marvel movie lingo is in the lexicon now, because that really wasn't a thing people said frequently, is that, like, if you're talking about something that has appeal to two types of people, you wouldn't say there's crossover. You know, maybe you'd say crossover appeal, but that has been shortened to just the term crossover when people are talking about Marvel movies, where it's like, oh my God, is Spider-Man going to cross over with Fantastic Four?
Are Irish people making a cameo in black people's culture? And
I got so mad. I was like, how dare he just sneak that in there? And I know he's not doing it intentionally. We just watched him talk the other night about, he was in the Criterion Closet.
Yes.
And he doesn't know what the fuck he's saying about anything. It just infuriates me. But we were doing impressions of him. He was talking about Ozu and Kurosawa, and I believe he said, like, how we joked Spike Lee talks. He's like, a Kurosawa is in Yashimuna Ozu. And he describes the 180-degree line, and he's like, he explains what it means, and he goes, didn't give fuck about that. Imagine that's your film professor.
Yeah, I'm dropping that class immediately. He stammers through every single point he tries to make and ends up saying nothing. I think he's worse than Spike Lee. Because Spike Lee at least knows what he's trying to say, but is just, like, inebriated or has been hit in the head too many times by the police. But Ryan Coogler is just such a hack that he has nothing interesting to say. He also stole a line from John David Washington.
Really?
And I think, like, his cousin, somebody he was in the Criterion Closet with several months prior. And he said something with Kurosawa and Ozu where he's like, I love when our directors are in conversation with each other, which is exactly what John David Washington said, or his brother in that video. And Ryan Coogler definitely saw that, because it's like We Them Black Actors in Criterion.
And he's saying he's holding a DVD of Michael Mann's Thief and Christopher Nolan's Following. And you not having seen Following, I think to check, you were like, I'm guessing they have something in common. As someone who's seen both, the only thing they have in common is that people steal things in the movies, but like from a director's perspective, there's no crossover. There's nothing that's in conversation. No obvious influence, although, you know, it's so subjective. Anyone can just, Roger Ebert was living proof that you can just connect anything you want and just say that it was intended to be that way. And people are going to say, I guess. So, but that kind of burned me too, that he's comparing things that don't really need to be compared, don't have any obvious comparisons. He's using words like crossover to describe things that aren't Marvel movies. You mentioned Spike Lee, and, you know, Spike Lee does teach, he does make money teaching at NYU.
That's
so insane. He does officially have a job doing it. God, he's like Beetlejuice. Spike Lee's like they're both like Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice can actually get through his lines eventually.
# get Beetlejuice on Criterion Closet. We need him in the closet.
He's walking, he can't even reach the shelves. He's like, yeah, so I like Spider-Man. Like, Beat, we don't have that. Do you got Spider-Man? Beat, we already said no. Get out.
Spider-Man 3. Yeah, we don't have Spider-Man 1. We're not going to have Spider-Man 3. Oh, yeah. You do a good Beetlejuice. I was going to say you do a good Spider-Man. You do a good Beetlejuice impression, for real.
Thank you very much.
So we watched Unforgiven.
We did. Yes, this is the next episode of our foreign remakes. We decided we're going to go the opposite route because we were talking one day and I thought, you know, in America, they love to remake movies all the time. And a lot of the time, they're not great. Sometimes they can be quite good. But Spike Lee somehow got the reins to remake Oldboy. Terrible, terrible flop critically and commercially.
Yes.
And we decided, let's go the other way. Let's see what movies the foreigners remade of ours, you know. I was looking through a list that was like already created, I think it was on Wikipedia, of American movies with foreign remakes. You go through and you say, oh, okay, this makes sense. You know, this was a blockbuster, or it was like an easily adaptable script that you can just kind of change some locations and make it work in France, India, Philippines, anywhere, really.
Films that are in conversation with each other.
Yes, these films are definitely... And I saw one on the list that I knew Caleb loves, and it was Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's 1992 Best Picture winner.
Yes.
I had never seen it before. I'd heard great things, but it was just a blind spot for me, because sometimes in your brain, you don't really try to watch the number one movie of the year all the time. You're just like, I maybe find something that's, you know, appeals to me in the moment, but I would never went down the list of all the Best Picture winners. Yeah. But it was on my list. Eventually, I was going to get to it, but this gave me a reason to. And I have to say, Caleb, fantastic movie.
Oh, great.
Fantastic. Loved it.
I'm glad you liked it. Oh, loved it.
Yeah, it would be, I'd have to sit with it for a little bit, but it's definitely like at least a 9 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, at the time of this recording, we've finished the movie less than an hour ago. This was my fourth, I think, time watching it, and not after that long. I mean, the first viewing was not that long ago. It was when I was maybe 16.
Okay.
I grew up on the Dollars trilogy, Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy that Clint Eastwood stars in. I've seen many Westerns. This is probably the last, like, big famous Western besides maybe High Noon that I saw. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, where has this been all my life? Because this is very different from most American Western classics, even from a lot of American Western revisionist classics. And it's also inspired a lot. You can see, we were talking a little bit about Logan, you can see a lot of influence with the way a lot of stories about tough guys have taken from Unforgiven. It's kind of like this funnel that like certain aspects of American culture all go into it and come out different, you know, and a lot of art that's been made that's not just Westerns, but just, like I said, like tough guy movies, action movies, things that involve somebody who's past their prime. There's a lot of stuff out there that takes from Unforgiven.
I can see that. Yeah, and I also think a lot of people have tried to replicate the tone. Not that Unforgiven was the first to do this, but probably one of the more successful ones where it's unapologetically bleak, dark. The character is a true, like, gray man, morally gray anti-hero, and they don't try to win you over with him whatsoever. They present him how he is. And I respected the movie a lot for that, for not trying to be like, well, he's doing a good thing now, but maybe he did something bad in the past. Like, no, he was bad.
It's not sentimental. It doesn't even, the movie doesn't really care whether you like his character, Eastwood's character, at all. He's kind of devoid of personality for most of the movie. He's actually kind of pathetic. I don't know if you had this experience watching it the first time. I did, where until about halfway in the movie, like the movie is very light on its feet and kind of innocent. And then about halfway through the movie, it just turns.
That's true. I didn't hate the pacing of the movie by any means. I didn't even dislike it, but I thought it was going to follow a different framework. Yeah. And then halfway through, I realized, I'm like, oh, we're kind of not really at the meat and potatoes of the movie yet.
Yes.
Which isn't a bad thing. It gives you time to sit with the characters and take everything in, like including the scenery, cinematography. But eventually it hits the ground and it's basically a cleaner version of, in tone of like Bone Tomahawk, when it really like, I mean, they don't really have a lot of things in common besides their Westerns that are bleak, but in the sense of the pacing, it's like, okay, we're just on the road, nothing is really happening, and then damn, everything is happening now, and it's disgusting.
Eastwood doesn't have a ton of deleted scenes in his movies. Usually he shoots right down to the bone, but there is a deleted scene from Unforgiven where, like Bone Tomahawk, Alice gets cut into a fuck puppet with no arms or legs. I'm just kidding. What happened? Watching the movie, you're watching it and you're going, okay, we're in a familiar Western. You can kind of see where the plot's going. Everything's setting up. You're like, okay, I'm in for this sort of thing. And you're going, wow, Eastwood's character isn't very compelling. Am I going to give a shit? And then, like I said, turns, it becomes realistic. I like this movie kind of eases you into the revisionism. I want to clarify, to someone hearing this out of context, you might think that a revisionist Western is a Western that revises history, but that's actually not true because the Western genre itself revised history. It made heroes out of cowboys. We talked off mic about how they're always presented in those old movies as like basically knights.
Very romanticized.
Armor. Yes, there's this gallantry about them that is like, okay, who would actually behave that way? So a revisionist Western is really actually a realistic depiction of life in America, in the West, during a certain period. Mm-hmm. I like that this movie eases you into it because it starts out with a very familiar setup, and then the characters start encountering problems. It's not as like capital E exciting as you thought it might be, but then you start to feel sick because the like adventure you're in for, you're like, oh, I actually have to watch this play out and watch how people are affected by things that in most movies and especially Westerns up to this point, like, you know, people get shot, they die, and then everything's fine. And it's like in this movie, no, people die slowly.
Yes.
Bleeding out, crying, having visions, you know.
Exactly. There's a way that somebody dies in here that is very troubling.
I don't know which one you're referring to.
It's one of the big ones, I guess I'll say.
Okay.
And has to do with, you know, bleeding out by a rock. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I saw that the first time, and the way it's shot as well is just, it doesn't turn it into a spectacle.
Yeah.
Which is what I was wondering was going to happen. Not that it would turn me off the movie because I love blood and guts, but tone wise, it does. You had mentioned off mic before where you're just like the violence in Unforgiven is not like, yes, let's go. Mm-hmm. They got shot. It really is just matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I did like that about the movie. It did ground it in a way that, like you said, didn't make it sentimental or it's not like, for example, in Bone Tomahawk, when people get killed or in Bloody Ways, you're just like, ooh, cool, yes. It's really just, this is what is happening to a person, and we're showing it to you.
There's only a couple of times I was paying attention to this time watching it and trying to count in my mind, and I think it's less than, might fit on one hand, might be less than 5 times in this movie where there is a moment or a scene where the way it is shot is kind of, quote unquote, manipulating you to feel a certain thing. Like barely any. For instance, in a lot of movies, when somebody is talking and they're maybe saying something emotional or something that's triggering an emotion in the audience or in the person they're talking to, the camera will very subtly push in on them. That doesn't happen except for like one moment.
Yeah.
You know, the movie doesn't really, there's not a lot of like filmmaking tricks to get you to feel. The movie doesn't care. It's like, and that makes me at least feel so much where like by the end, when the music comes in and the credits start rolling, like, I'm not crying, but I just feel like I have like a year's worth of pain that I've just processed, you know?
Yes, this is traumatic. And you mentioned something about how it's shot that I want to bring up. There are tons of moments in here that feel like the movie was shot in the 1970s. Like, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it feels like you're watching like an older, way older Western, like McCabe and Mrs. Miller or something like that from that era. Not that they look exactly the same, but how Eastwood places the camera and how he films everything. And there's only a couple moments in the movie where I say, oh yeah, I can definitely, like, this feels like kind of 90s era filmmaking. Like I said, it's really just a feeling or something. Yeah. It's hard to describe. And I was very impressed because a lot of people, when they try to film something old style, not that Clint was trying to do that, they end up failing. And it's like, well, I can tell that you're not using the same cameras or something. Yeah. It must have been the cameras he used, and he must be somewhat, at this point, stuck in his ways of the old, what would you call it, the dogma of filmmaking. And it was very hypnotic. I have never really seen a movie that so effectively captured a feeling of like a different decade of filmmaking.
It's like timeless.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't know who the actors were well enough to be able to place the decade it was made by how they look, you wouldn't necessarily think 90s. It doesn't have... Not that the 90s has a modern feel to it, but this doesn't look like or play out or have the kind of indescribable qualities. What's the French word for that?
Je ne sais quoi.
Thank you. This doesn't really have that kind of stuff that you associate with other 90s movies. I think that Eastwood has a lot of influence from, I think his name is Don Siegel. The movie is dedicated, it says, to Sergio and Don. And Sergio is Sergio Leone. Don, I believe Don Siegel. A director that Eastwood worked with as an actor a lot before Eastwood started directing. I mean, if you watch an Eastwood movie after the mid-70s, he's probably directing it. There's like very few times he acted anything he wasn't also shooting. And he's directed many movies he's not in. And his style did evolve because I'm very familiar with his stuff that he's done in this millennium. And he uses a lot of Steadicam. He uses a lot of like just traditional, no frills, kind of like workman-like direction. Unforgiven has a lot of restraint, a lot of minimalism in the directorial choices, a lot of static shots, really good sense of how to place actors where you are always looking at one person all the time. Gene Hackman's scenes, especially in the saloons and whatnot, like your eyes are glued to him. And I was paying attention to that. Like, I really enjoy when a filmmaker doesn't have to move the camera much, but is able to direct your eye the way we were talking about with Kurosawa, with High and Low in those scenes, and the other foreign remake in those scenes in the house with all the cops and everything. Like you always, you never feel like you're looking where the director didn't want you to be. Yes. So it's just like masterfully done. And this is all nerdy stuff that doesn't even really matter because when you're watching it, like at least for the first time, like for me, I'm just overwhelmed by the performance by Gene Hackman, by the like wonderful, I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen next kind of tension. Did you experience that?
Yes. I mean, like I said, with the pacing, I was like, oh, I expected in any other movie or like revenge-based Western. I mean, I wouldn't say this is really revenge-based, but it does follow the thing of there's a person that I'm fixing to kill.
Yeah, it's a quote-unquote justified mission that isn't necessarily as justified as they thought.
Exactly. And at a certain point, at the beginning of the movie, I still liked it, but I was like, okay, I'm kind of wondering when we get into, business here. And then after a bit, it becomes like hypnotic, and it's almost terrifying, like certain scenes in like the saloon once they get to town.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and I'm just like, okay, wait, is a big thing going to happen? Like, what? I didn't know how far it was going to escalate, and I'm very happy that it was written, directed, shot this way that keeps you guessing on your toes.
Yeah.
Does it still, because it's my first time, does this still hold up on a rewatch for you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm intentional to not rewatch stuff that I like too many times too close together.
Same.
Because I don't want to learn it so well that I'm bored by it. So I've been conscious to watch this every like 3 years. And I forget enough of it that, yeah, when they arrive in town, the first time that two of the major characters meet, I was like, wait, I don't remember I know where the scene goes. I don't remember how it gets there. And it works so effectively. It's just like the movie tricks you so well into feeling genuine compassion for all of the characters so that when the conflict actually does start to have to come to a head, you don't want it to because you want everyone to be okay and you know where they're all coming from. And that sounds like something, I mean, a lot of movies attempt that and maybe do it to some degree. I think this movie does it in a really powerful way where I'm sitting there like squeezing, like my fists are like this and I'm like, oh no. And some of the characters that you think you do want something to happen to them, some of them get out fine. The movie is like, well, that's how life goes.
Yeah. I want to talk about the characters, actually, because fantastic casting in this. If the Oscar existed in this year, it should have won it. I mean, Gene Hackman is like a scene stealer. When he won. I mean, yeah, deservedly.
Yeah.
Fantastic performance by him. He's like a very confident sheriff in the town of Big Whiskey, Wyoming. And he doesn't play what would be like an easy, overconfident sheriff who's like evil and like exerting his will and power to abuse people inherently. It is a very nuanced performance.
Yes.
And I know it's kind of hack to say everything is nuanced, but it really is, honestly.
You don't know, at least I wouldn't say never know, but for a long time in this movie, you're not certain if he's going to turn out to just be a total bastard. You're kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, and he is consistent. He has, like all people, he has negative traits. He does have an ugly side, and he does lean into it a couple times where a good, proper sheriff in a Western movie wouldn't cross that line, but he will. But you don't hate him for it. You get where he's coming from. You get where everyone's coming from.
Absolutely.
And he is just, it's just unfair. He is so compelling. He's so perfect. He has a scene in the middle of this movie that is so long, that is so good. And every time I watch it, I'm just like wanting more. And when I recognize the lines of dialogue near the end of the scene, when he tells the other person, you were smart not to take the... I'm like, no, it's almost over. No, like, I just want that scene to go on forever. It is just like cinematic magic.
Yes.
There's a small role by Richard Harris, who is Dumbledore, the original Dumbledore from Harry Potter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died, I think, after they filmed the second one. So that guy, he's in this movie. He's great.
He plays English Ben?
English Bob.
English Bob. And I was laughing so hard when they introduced his character because they say, oh, he makes a living killing the Chinese.
Yes, he works for the rail. He's a gunslinger, like crack shot. But the Wild West isn't so wild anymore. This movie takes place at the end of the 19th century. So bounty killers aren't as common, and you can't just live off that anymore. Yeah. You kind of have to have a fair trade. So, like, what does he do? He works for the railroad, killing the Chinese when I guess they get out of hand. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, you pay me now. And he goes, oh, no, boy.
And then, like, one scene after they introduce his character, he sees some Chinese people and he does finger guns at them.
And then Clint does a callback to that in Gran Torino when he does that to the black people.
That's true. Yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah, what's his name? English Bob?
English Bob.
English Bob basically is like the bad guys in Blazing Saddles. You know,
sure.
I guess I assume in my brain that's the equivalent of what his like job title actually is he just stands there and he's like, work, you slant-eyed fuckers. And then there's just putting them in quicksand.
This is such, I cherish this movie and its screenplay so much because it's so unusual to have a movie like this, but it's so effective. You would think, and this almost happened to this movie, it's why it didn't get made for so long, because this was written in the mid-70s.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I love how many subversions there are. When you meet English Bob's character, no movie like this ever would introduce a character like this to then have him leave the movie the way he does without affecting the plot in an overt way. Now, his portion of the movie matters, and there's information you learn during it that heavily informs the way you're feeling at the end of the movie when a very similar thing happens in reverse, without giving too much away. But I love so much the subversions where this movie, it is a deconstruction itself of the Westerns that always make people out to be heroes. But within the movie, the characters are revisionists, where there's this subplot of this guy, the most Jewish actor, by the way. His name's like David Rubin or something like that.
Dave Rubin?
I know that that's a guy, but I swear to God.
I believe him.
Yeah. And he's walking around writing the stories. He's like, he's a biographer. He's a writer of like Western nonfiction, and he's following around like real cowpunchers and gunslingers. And he's writing a biography of English Bob. And then he realizes through the events of the movie that English Bob is full of shit.
Like most shooters were.
Yes. Yeah. And that also was taken by Logan, by the way. And when I saw Logan, there were people that I knew who thought it was so brilliant that if you haven't seen the movie, in the movie, there are comic books of the X-Men and the character of Wolverine, who's older now, is like, this shit isn't real. This is all. And the movie is implying that like the other X-Men movies were the quote unquote comic books, the cleaned up, happy, nice version of the real like murder that was happening with these meta humans, as they call them in Suicide Squad. That comes from this movie because the people who have the tall tales, they're tall for a reason. And these shootouts, like it's a big deal, the OK Corral shootout, and in reality, it's like 4 people got shot.
Yes. Yeah.
2 of them died later the next day. It's like, it's not that big a deal, but it gets blown up. In this movie, like the shootout in this movie is technically slightly bigger than the OK Corral shootout, but it would probably become legend. And people are constantly talking about, oh, William Money, he shot these people, he did this stuff. And he's like, not really. Like all the time, he's like, well, I don't really remember that part. I don't remember that.
So you had mentioned before something about the 70s?
Yes. So David Webb Peoples, the screenwriter of this movie, who doesn't have a great list of credits, but in my opinion, but there are 2 good movies on there, this and Blade Runner. I became interested when I saw this movie. I was like, why doesn't this guy have more produced films? Because I didn't really understand that the film industry was just made to not make movies. Mm-hmm. And I did some research on him, and I found some interviews related to this film, and it's interesting. He wrote this in 1976, 1977, after seeing Taxi Driver and The Shootist.
Oh, okay.
And The Shootist is a revisionist Western starring John Wayne, and Taxi Driver is a movie that is subversive, and you feel this dread of violence coming.
Sure.
And in David Webb Peoples' words, he saw those movies, and he's like, I have an idea. So he wrote Unforgiven, and it got a little bit of circulation in Hollywood. He wrote other scripts and then wrote something that got the attention for him to be hired on Blade Runner. But Unforgiven, as he originally titled it, The Cut Horror Killings,
oh my God,
which might have been part of why it didn't quite sell right away, got into the hands of Clint Eastwood and or his company or whatever. And he didn't read it, but he had an assistant read it, and the assistant was telling Clint, he's like, oh yeah, what about, what did you think of XYZ? And she's like, well, there's a Cut Horror Killings, it's garbage, it's trash, throw it away. And he's like, okay. And then Francis Ford Coppola was going to make a movie of this script starring John Malkovich in the mid-'80s. Yeah.
This script?
Yes.
What?
And Coppola is one of the worst directors. He has some great credits, but he's one of the worst directors of most of the things he's done. And Malkovich can't act. So that would have been a very bad thing across the board.
Oh, that would have been a generational dog turd.
Yes. The movie gods smiled upon the earth, and then Clint Eastwood apparently found his copy of the script and was like, I never read that for myself. Let me just, who knows? And he started reading it. He's like, oh, I love this. And he bought the rights to it, but then didn't start making it. And the story goes that David Webb Peoples and his wife were at a party, and the wife was like, hey, Clint, when are you going to make this fucking movie that my husband wrote that's genius that no one will do? You're just sitting on it. And he's like, don't worry, I'll do it soon. Mm-hmm. And Eastwood has said that when he read it, he was like, I want to make this, but I need to be older. So he intentionally waited until he looked right for the part to play a, basically, I think, mid-50s guy. They make the movie, and there's an actress who plays Alice, the madam of the brothel. And she said that this is the first time she worked on a movie where the script didn't change at all. Clint Eastwood famously, he does one take. He doesn't make the writers rewrite it and shit. He's like, if I like the script, I want to shoot that script as is. And that's also seems like common sense, but it's unheard of in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So he just went and made this movie. It was written as it was in the 70s. It feels timeless. Maybe this is part of it. It was written in a moment and then put in a time capsule and then made very true to the original vision without changing it. And then you have a masterpiece. Who knew?
Who knew if you trusted people?
Who knew?
Who knew what they were doing that you would make a good movie?
Yeah. And it's just and I read this stuff and I'm 16, 17 and I'm going, oh, we're fucked. If you can write Unforgiven and Hollywood thinks it's and, even the person who's perfect to make it, his assistant is saying, oh, you would never want this. And then it goes on to be what this is, which is, it's not a perfect movie in most people's standards, but it's held in really high regard. It's definitely in the IMDb top 250, closer to 1 than 250.
Yeah.
It's regarded as one of the better Westerns. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, a couple other things. It's a fantastic film, and who knows how many Unforgivens we don't have because of the of Wood.
Yeah, it is really disappointing to just, once you understand how Hollywood works, it kind of makes you hate movies like the ones that come out that suck, because you're just like, there are so many better scripts that are floating around, in the blacklist, like you said, where it's like, I don't even know. I'm just mad.
Yeah.
I don't know how to finish that thought.
Well, you know how the story ends? In one of these interviews I've read with David Webb Peoples, somebody asked him, oh, Unforgiven, your credits are like Blade Runner and Paul W.S. Anderson's Soldier.
Oh.
It's like, your credits aren't, you only have a few movies on there. And then, do you not write movies anymore? And he goes, oh, I get paid in Hollywood. I write movies all the time. They just don't shoot them. And he's like, my job is that somebody gives me money. They say, I want a classic movie in this genre. I want it to feel like it's from the 70s. I say, you got it. I write it for them. And then it goes in a drawer forever. And it's like, good on him for still making a living and being able to do it. But this guy must be like a freaking genius. And we have one movie that has any personality from him. And the way that he's able to just casually say that, it reminded me of John Carpenter. But I'm not as sad for Carpenter because it's like, well, he still went off. He made his however many 25 movies where at least 80% of them are fun and good.
Sure.
Or at least good enough.
There's only a handful that he lost most of his creative control over, or just completely disowned and was like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. And it's like, so not only how many Unforgivens do we not have, how many genius writers are just writing shit that goes right in a drawer? It's just
so frustrating.
maddening. It's maddening. I'm going to go William Money on those people. Great name, by the way. Munny.
It's one of those things that seems kind of silly that if you wrote a script today and then pitched it, they'd be like, well, everything is good, but we need to change that name because it's too funny.
Yeah.
But it's one of those kind of homestays of just like where things could just be like a little not, I don't even want to say it's silly because it's a completely fine last name, but they want everything to be like serious. It's like they want his name if Unforgiven was shot today, Unforgiven 2, the sequel, Baby Forgiven, his name is going to be like Clark Power or something.
John Killer.
John Forgiven.
Yeah. That's the title of the episode.
Yeah. John Forgiven.
By the way, this movie has my favorite line of dialogue, like monologue-ish line of dialogue ever.
Can I guess what it is?
Yes, you can, and you'll get it right.
I'm pretty sure it's at the end where he says something to the kid of like killing a man takes everything away from him.
Yes, that is exactly.
Yes!
I know it by heart. He says, it's a hell of a thing killing a man. You take everything he's got, everything he's ever going to have. That is one of the most perfect.
It's fantastic.
That is the movie in a sentence, you know? Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
And even in the scene, the way it's shot is they're not really doing like what you would think most people do is like a really like big close up on him. It is more him and the other guy in the scene. Yeah. Because I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, it's so restrained that it makes everything that much more powerful. It's not trying to push the worldview on you necessarily. Oh, God, it's so masterful.
Everything's given the same weight. Yeah. Prostitutes arguing about the size of a guy's dick is shot the same way as like a man realizing his life will never be the same.
Exactly.
Everything is given the same weight. And then you feel all the emotion that you want them to be feeling. God, I love this movie so much.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Caleb, if you love it so much, why don't you watch it again? In 2013, Japanese director Lee Sang-il cast Ken Watanabe, the Japanese actor that everybody in the West knows. They say, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
It released 2 pretty decent reviews, but nobody in the West saw it because why would we? And also Lee Sang-il, before his movie that came out last year, Kokuho, which, by the way, is the highest grossing Japanese live-action film of all time in Japan.
I raised my eyebrows for the listeners.
Yes. And I don't know why the Japanese connected with Koku so much, but point I'm trying to make is that he is a fairly respected director in Japan. In the West, cinephiles may know about him to some extent from his work previously, but when I looked at his filmography from even before Unforgiven, I didn't really know anything personally. There might be like one thing where you'd be like, I've heard that in passing. I'm very excited to watch this because I thought Coco was decent. Any problems I had with it were with the script, and it wasn't really the director's fault. I thought it was a very beautiful looking movie, just like how Unforgiven is beautiful. I thought the characters were complex, and even though they were imperfect, I was rooting for them, which is exactly what happens in Unforgiven. And let me be clear, I don't think it's going to be better, but I am hopeful that it will be more than passable.
I have more hope. I mean, I had no hope originally before I knew anything, because when you mentioned that there was a remake, I was like, oh, no. And then after looking into it a little bit, I was like, oh, I actually kind of understand this. Film bros will know this, but average people might not. This is an inverse of the trend that made Clint Eastwood a star, of Sergio Leone just blatantly stealing
Kurosawa.
Japanese, movies about Japanese swordsmen and making them into gunfighters in the West, in the American West, even though they were Italian movies. And this is a American Western that's been made into a Japanese We Have Swords movie.
Yes.
And I was like, oh no. But then I looked at it and I was like, okay, good reviews. I looked at the pictures on IMDb, like stills in the movie, and I was like, okay, this has a budget. It doesn't look like just a garbage cash grab. So Unforgiven is no sacred cow to me. I try not to have sacred cows, but I'm not against the idea of remakes. One of my favorite movies ever is a remake, The Departed, of a terrible movie called Infernal Affairs.
No, he actually biffed it right there, Infernal Affairs.
No.
The Departed they're both good movies. I try not to do too much research on Jap Forgiven, as I've been calling it, because I want it to be a little bit of surprise, but I wanted to do some like cursory knowledge of like, did they really do any big changes? From what I can tell, everybody says it's pretty faithful to the original. The only thing that they change is, one, it's in Japan during the Meiji period, the Meiji era, which is actually kind of the same era as when Unforgiven takes place, the late 1800s, around there. And instead of him being a bandit, He is a samurai, or maybe a ronin. A ronin is a samurai without a master. So honestly, and that makes sense for the story because they're not going to have a guy like shooting people in the Meiji era in Edo.
Oh, Mr. Money, why are you not forgiven?
They call him Mr. Yen.
William Yen.
William Yen.
That's really good.
So I'm excited to watch Jap Forgiven. I think it is going to at least be decent, but I'm going to be comparing it to what I assume is going to be the better version in my head the entire time. And honestly, if you are a Japanese person who had never seen Unforgiven, this is probably considered a really good movie to you. Where say, oh, what a powerful script. And if it even stays like 80% true to the original dialogue, I feel like it'll still be pretty impactful because Japan is a very, how do I phrase this? They deal with with guilt in the same way that we do a lot of the time. Like the Japanese.
We who? Who's this we?
I forgot Caleb is incapable of guilt. He has no prefrontal cortex. The Japanese do internalize a lot of things in their life and are very remorseful. I mean, there's an entire way of killing yourself modeled after them. So I think if there was any society to adapt a story of an outlaw who is trying to do one last job, it's the only thing he's good at, and he has this huge weight on his shoulders. He's very remorseful. I think the Japanese are probably some of the best to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe the Koreans in a kind of like either like Park Chan-wook or Lee Chang-dong, like more violent way. But the Japanese also have this reserved, quiet sadness that I feel like is probably one of the better temperaments to have with this.
Are you saying there's a lot of crossover between their culture and our culture?
Did that make sense?
Did that make sense? When you say the Japanese invented a way to killing themselves, are you talking about melting down nuclear reactors and creating tsunamis? Are you talking about dive bombing?
I'm talking about, yes, the planes Mitsubishi made that attacked her. You know, one thing I was just thinking about right now is there's a plot element that they really don't need to change in Jap Forgiven because English Bob makes a living killing the Chinese.
Oh my God.
The Japanese are already pros at that.
So wait, this movie takes place during the what? Was it called Meijing era?
The rape of Nanking.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there going to be overlap?
No, there's not. That was about
Nanjing, actually.
You Chinese nationalist. No, I think that's about like 70 years after when it would take place. But who knows? Maybe in Jap Forgiven 2, there's like a little wink at the end where John Yen will return in Nanking.
Well, John Yen, neither the rape of the Chinese are women and children. I've raped. Oh my God, this would go so perfectly. So in Unforgiven, there's a line where someone says, you know, you're so-and-so, the guy who killed women and children. He goes, that's right. Killed women, children, anything that walked or crawled at one time or another. I've raped women, I've raped children. I've raped anything that could walk or crawl at one time or another. John Yen will return. Forgiven.
In Super Forgiven. Yeah. So, Caleb, hopefully that's kind of hyped you up now to see where it could go.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
If you didn't know, Nicholas, Clint Eastwood actually wrote Claudia's theme, the main theme that plays throughout the movie. He came up with that himself. Dang. And Unforgiven is the first of many times that he did some or all of the score for his own movies.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's like John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Him and Robert Rodriguez and John Carpenter, they're the three, and they all have similar problems with their bad movies. But they're three guys who are like, I do it all. Although Clint doesn't do it all. He just directs, acts, and does music. But he did a song at the end of Gran Torino, it's a little piano piece and he's singing, but he's like 90 years old, so it doesn't sound very good. And it sounds like the AI Joe Biden singing videos. I've lived a long life. All this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he sung it. Wow. Okay. I mean, I've seen Gran Torino twice. Once was like a Blockbuster rental, and second was because I'm racist. And I needed to see those scenes again so I could get hard. I don't remember him singing at the end though.
Yeah, at the end when the kid is driving the Gran Torino off into the sunset, you hear piano and then you hear Clint Eastwood go, "Oh, remember me when you..." Although he's barely even able to get the words out. Like whatever register he needs to be in to sing kind of higher notes, not even falsetto, he can't do it.
Yeah, because there's like 80 there.
Yeah. But his other like great movie, what people probably consider the best if it's not Unforgiven, is $1 Million Baby. And he did the score. I think he did the whole score for that. And that also has beautiful music. God, Clint, you're really talented, man.
He is.
But you do stuff like The Mule and 1517 to Paris and shit like that now. What happened to you?
An American Sniper.
American Sniper is bad.
It's the famous thing was when Bradley Cooper is holding the baby that is clearly a doll.
Yeah.
That is just not reacting in any way.
Yeah.
That was the point where it's like, Clint, you need to do more than 2 takes max for that.
I rewatched the movie recently thinking, oh yeah, because I've only had seen it once and I remembered it being good. I saw it in the theater, packed theater when it came out. That movie was a huge success, by the way, in America.
Nominated for Best Picture.
And I think it was the highest grossing movie in this country that year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Guardians of the Galaxy made more money, but in terms of domestic gross, I think it was the highest or up there. And I remember it being powerful and good, and then people complained about the babby. But then I rewatched it like a year ago, and I was like, oh, this is actually extremely cheesy.
Yes.
Terribly acted, for the most part.
Has bad action scenes, too.
Bad action scenes, boring action scenes, no structure, no story, really. It's just like, oh, this happened. Oh, I sniped somebody. I'm really sad. Someone turned on a lawnmower and I like cut my dog's head off. And then American Sniper cuts to black and it's like, and then he died.
He super died, yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
You know what's not terrible? Unforgiven, the original. You know what is terrible? Unforgiven, the remake.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
Because here's the thing. I mentioned that I thought it was going to, on its own, if you hadn't seen the original, been a decent film.
Yeah.
But if you had seen the Clint Eastwood 92 original and watched it expecting the same thing, you would have been sorely disappointed. And I would agree in that sense. When I watched it, I said, oh, this didn't need to be remade, and every choice is either unnecessary. I don't think any of the changes, because there aren't very many, are bad. Like, explicitly bad, but it's like Clint Eastwood. I prefer his direction over Lee Sang-il's any day.
I do think the changes were what's the word for it? What's the opposite of an improvement?
A deprovement.
Yeah.
No, a step down, I guess.
Sure. I think the things they changed for the most part, either it was changed and it didn't really have an effect. It didn't make it better. It was just like kind of a neutral change, or it was something where I was like, well, that's different and therefore less powerful because of what it changed. Like structurally, it's a little different. And I perked up at the beginning. I was like, oh, because where the movie starts in time is different.
Yes.
And I said, okay, cool. They're going to give us generally the same plot, but a lot of the context is going to be changed because it's Japan. It's the Beijing dynasty, the Meijing dynasty?
Yeah, so what it is it's the Meiji Restoration, and this was after the emperor, I believe Tokugawa, defeated the shogunate, which is where the samurai, they were loyal to their daimyo, and the shogun. So basically, it was like the government against bodyguards, in a sense.
Yeah.
And if people don't know, the Kurosawa movie Yojimbo means bodyguard. That's basically what samurai were. A ronin is a masterless samurai.
Paramilitary swordsmen roaming the lands of Japan with no purpose.
Yes, the shogunate basically were just like, hey, you're a samurai, you can rule over this part. And then people were like, wait, hold on, though, I didn't vote for you. They're like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care, actually.
Go kill the unjust people.
We are going to cut your head off because it's funny. So, yeah, a lot of people had problems with the shogunate, and then there was a war, and then Emperor Meiji, who was, the emperor, won. And it's called the Meiji Restoration because he realized, hey, there are problems with society as a whole. People are rising up. There's a time jump in the beginning that is not in the original of about 10 years because after the shogunate failed, all the samurai were chased into Hokkaido, which for people who aren't geographically inclined, is the top of Japan, the north. It is the snowy island. If you ever see the monkeys in the hot springs, that is where they are.
So anyway, that is the context for when this movie is taking place and what is going on in the world of Japan. When the movie started and it was different, I said, oh, okay, interesting. This is going to be a necessary change to establish the context of what's going on in this time for its own audience. If you're a Japanese person watching this movie, you probably don't need anything. And maybe this movie is really speaking to the stoic Japaneseness of it all to Japanese people. But as a Westerner watching the movie, I said, this is kind of just making me not really feel anything, because the stuff that gives you the emotions in Unforgiven is like the charm of the characters and how real they feel, whereas these people are stoic and unrealistic in their behavior, in my opinion, for the most part. And maybe I'm just missing out on context of the history of the time, but I'm like, well, nothing about the story feels urgent. I don't really feel like I understand why the characters are motivated to do what they're doing, other than, well, it's what happened in Unforgiven. But in Unforgiven, in the original, you had more stuff. The movie has this like emotional mountain, and it climbs the mountain and then peaks, and that's kind of the section with English Bob, and then it goes downhill. And you go like, oh, I was in for one thing and it switched up on me. Whereas the Japanese Unforgiven is like, if I watched this not having seen the original, I would know exactly where it's going.
Yeah, I would say especially it follows the same beats, but at a different tempo. And this is definitely made for Japanese personalities, temperaments.
Yeah.
Where Unforgiven, I mean, a lot of people have always compared, like, the Dollars trilogy for a few dollars more, or sorry, Fistful of Dollars, which is just absolutely stolen from Yojimbo. I mean, explicitly. You didn't really have to change a lot, honestly, because cowboys and samurai are pretty similar, or at least like a bodyguard in that sense of they come to town and the highest bidder is the one that gets their gun or their weapon.
The gunfight, the highly deadly, wandering nomad Clint Eastwood character. It's like, oh, okay, it's a samurai. Makes sense.
In that way, a lot of samurai or gunfighter movies are very similar. And like I said earlier, I think that this is kind of the perfect movie to make Japanese, where it's like, I can 90% of it. I'm just like, yeah, if this was a samurai and this was in Japan instead of Wyoming with cowboys, I'm like, I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I mean, that makes sense. Like if this happened in like Africa, it's like, no, they wouldn't care about the woman being raped at all. It'd be 5 minutes
We are going to go high five the man who cut and raped this whore.
Yeah, we have raised 1,000 bing bongs to pay to the man who killed this guy, and the guys come to town and just rape and murder them. I don't even remember where I was going with this, honestly, but
the story lends itself to Japanese stoicism, I think is where you were going.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. It's really easy to put yourself in the audience of like, yeah, this can happen in Japan, this can happen in the United States if you change the characters and where it happens around.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about the downsides of the Japanese stoicism, I don't think this story needs less emotion in terms of the original. Like Unforgiven, I find it very emotional, but the movie isn't telling you to feel. It's just like, if you feel, you feel. But
I would agree.
As we talked, it's minimalist. You're along for the ride, and it's like, hey, if you get something out of this, great. But the remake strips out even what emotion you had, and it's even more like pronounced how much it just was kind of flatlining for me with how all of the characters are just wrong in this. Little Bill, Gene Hackman's character, is like 15 years old and not intimidating, not threatening. You don't feel like he has any authority or history.
He's more explicitly evil and just kind of like aura farming, as the kids would say now.
But he's bad at it. Like, Gene Hackman is good aura farming and Unforgiven. Yes. You feel like when you see Gene Hackman's character, you don't even, before he says or does anything or anyone says anything about his past, you're like, oh, that's a guy who's seen some shit. He knows how to handle himself and he's not scared of anybody. And this guy is like, I am the evil guy. And that's all there is.
Yeah, and I do want to say this here. I think in terms of each other's counterparts, who they're meant to represent from the original film, everybody I think in the Japanese version I like less. Not that they're bad, but I don't like them as much. The only person that I think is maybe on par, and they're not going to be one for one, but I feel like Ken Watanabe as William Money, or known as Jubei the Killer in this, they are giving equally, I should say on the same level, maybe not one for one, good performances. I think Ken Watanabe is doing a really good job in this for playing that character.
Yeah, I don't think it's his fault, but I do think he's just miscast as this guy because he's not the age. Like when you see Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, even if you had never seen his previous movies or knew who he was,
yeah.
When you see that guy and the wrinkles on his face and the natural salt and pepper, but it's more salt now hair and everything, you just see him, you go like, oh, I know exactly how much this guy's life sucks and how for the time period he's living in, he doesn't have a lot of years left. When I see Ken Watanabe in this movie, I'm like, well, he's 25 years too young. And I don't think you don't just assume that he's like old and tired. Like he does a good job acting old and tired, but I didn't believe it. And that's not his fault, but I think he's just miscast. I think that making Ned Logan, Morgan Freeman's character, like 25 years his senior doesn't make any sense.
Visually, I like, it's funny, like literally just speaking of how they look, the guy in Japanese Unforgiven kind of looks like Morgan Freeman a little bit just because they're like old and like raisined in the sun. Yeah. But beyond that, it is very bizarre because they do change that where in the original movie, you have the Schofield kid show up to Clint Eastwood's ramshacked house, and he's just like, yo, what's up? We're gonna get $1,000. And he goes, okay, interesting. Yeah. In this one, the equivalent of Morgan Freeman shows up and is like, yo, I remember you. We were samurai together during like the shogunate times. And he's like, yeah, that's right. And then he says, okay, I'm gonna go kill these people in Washiro instead of Big Whiskey. And he's like, okay, that's interesting. There is one scene they do add in the beginning that I kind of liked, because it adds a little bit like reason for his character to go that I don't remember is in the original. I don't think it is, where in Jap Forgiven, which I'll call it that from now on, there's a scene where the kid is pulling up a daikon or something like that. And he says like, oh, these are too small. Like, they died. We can't eat these. Yeah. So Ken Watanabe has a reason to go out and collect the bounty on the two brothers. It isn't a necessary scene, but I do think it is something that kind of adds to the character of like, or the urgency of, hey, we are losing food. Because in the original, it's like, you can get a better house, you can move on. But in this one, it's like the food is drying up. Yeah. He actually has a reason to go and it's pushing the plot forward. So I didn't hate that change.
I'm going to differ with you heavily. I don't think they did as good of a job. They did add a reason, or I guess add a reason other movie didn't give you. Although the other movie does have a reason. It's difficult to speak about without spoiling it. So I'm going to be as vague as I can. In the original Unforgiven, when Clint Eastwood's character is given the offer to go kill these people, he turns it down. And then you have a scene of him continuing what he was doing when the kid arrived, of like trying to separate the pigs. Yeah. And he falls on his face and he's like, this fucking sucks. Looks at the kid in the distance, tries shooting his guns, and you can see that he's like, he's not gung-ho, but he's like, okay, I'll do it. As a viewer, you might be asking yourself, is he doing this because he's like, I fucking hate these kids, and I think I want to go back to my old life of killing people because he's just an old man and he's crazy. Yeah. He might be doing it because he thinks, okay, I could actually use this money for some purpose. You really don't know what he actually wants out of this, or you can't be certain about it until near the end. And then at the very end of the movie, when you have the final thing that occurs, and you can see what his plan was to do all along, it makes sense. And you go, oh, okay. But there was a little bit of mystery there of like, what is his real reasoning? In this movie, yes, the crops are dying. So it's like, well, I need money because the crops are dying. But they did it wrong and it's out of order. Ken Watanabe is given the offer. He turns it down. Then he goes out to his shack and he pulls out a samurai sword and he starts like handling it the way Keanu Reeves did his gun in that David Ayer movie I watched, where it's like a guy he's like fetishistically like rubbing the sword and like wiping his penis against it. It's very strange.
He's not doing that.
He is. And he's writhing and he's like, samurai. But then the next scene, he's like, I'm not going to go. It looked like that was the scene of him being like, you know what? I kind of fucking miss using this sword on people. But then the next scene is him being like, well, I'm just staying here on the farm, actually. And then the son is like, the crops are dying. He's like, what? Oh my God. And then he gets on the horse and goes. And it's like, what?
I get what you're saying, but I disagree. It made logical sense to me. And this is just going to be a thing of like, it worked for me, but not for you. We can't really go more in depth about it. But I will say there is really nothing about this movie that I think Jap Forgiven did better than the original, except for one thing, but we haven't come to it yet.
Oh, yeah?
So whenever we mention stuff, I will mention what it is. But just know that I'm not saying, and this was better than this. No, Unforgiven is a better movie, the original. But there's one thing that you may have like a Mark Wahlberg screaming fit at me about. I don't think so.
I don't hate Jap Forgiven.
Yeah, I know. Okay. But this is one of your favorite movies.
Yes.
So I need to be careful before you do a big 8 punch on my soft spot.
Okay. I think Ken Matanui is cool looking. but I think his acting is a little stilted. And this is something that is true of Unforgiven as well, where the main character is just so nothing for the first half. Mm-hmm. But I didn't, again, feel any kind of like, I don't know, there just isn't really much charisma with him. I don't think he's a terrible actor, but I just don't really care very much. I was kind of bored, honestly. And there's a big portion of the movie that is similar to the original film, focusing on the town with the other bounty killer who shows up. And that bit of the movie was handled fine, but then when it cut back to Ken Watanabe, I was like, oh, this guy? Like, I didn't feel like, oh, I also get to watch this storyline. It was like, oh, okay, this is the less, here, now we're back to the boring thing.
Yes.
And when this movie's equivalent of the Schofield Kid appears, he's like this fucking goofy, Jar Jar, like nonsensical, like, this is some bringing up baby acting he's doing in this movie, and that really took me out of it.
He is increasingly silly. Like, he shows up just drunk off sake, and he's just like, so for reference, their equivalent Morgan Freeman, they're at the campfire just kind of chilling on their way to the bounty, and then this guy comes up, and he has like his hair in like a loose pony, and he's drunk as fuck, and he's like, yo, what's up? You guys about to do that bounty that we heard about? He's just like, yeah, so I'm pretty good at shooting stuff. And they're like, I don't know about that. He has a gun. He comes in and he's like, what's up, fuckers? And they're like, can you go away? And he's like, no. And then he tries to show his prowess of like, yeah, I can shoot things. And they're like, I don't know about that. He like throws his bottle up in the air and he misses it and he just falls asleep. And they're like, okay, you're dumb. And then he has this thing afterwards where he goes, actually, I'm a local of the place, which he is, so I know the routes and I can save you like a day or two on the road, and you kind of want me along. And this is handled worse than, the original plot, because it makes sense for Clint Eastwood to get Morgan Freeman's character of like, I need some backup, I need somebody from my past, I don't really trust this kid, and then there's like some static between them. But here it's literally, he gets pushed into the plot. And I don't like that, where he's like, yo, what's up? I'm the sake kid.
And this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's like the changes, the things that they shift around, which is mostly in the first third. Yeah. Most of the stuff that's different structurally, it's just like, you're just messing with it. You're just changing it kind of just to change it, really. This isn't like I have a different take on the story. Mm-hmm. It's not a different point of view. And then when we're in the original film, once we hit that halfway mark, I feel like I'm circling a drain. So everything's getting tighter. The characters are coming closer together. Violence is coming. You don't know how it's going to play out. And you're like, there's tension. Now, granted, I know what the plot is, so there is a little bit of tension moved from that. But I'm able to watch movies I've seen and forget. I mean, watching Unforgiven this time, this is the third, fourth, whatever time I've seen it, I was still feeling it. When this movie gets into that second half,
it's a bit slower.
I didn't feel it.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the characters in here, because these are all fairly well-known Japanese actors that you will probably know. Did you do any research on these people at all?
No, and it wouldn't matter. It's not going to stick.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say this for reference, because there actually is something that may change your mind on something down there. I'll get to it. So Ken Watanabe, for people who don't know, he is the Japanese guy in Inception. That's probably his most well-known Western role. He's been in Batman Begins as Ra's al Ghul as well, but that's kind of less known because people know Dark Knight more.
Let them fight.
He was in The Last Samurai. He was in Tokyo Vice, which I think is a very good TV show that had only 2 seasons, that is based on an equally, if not better, book called Tokyo Vice by Jake Adelstein. Mm-hmm. He does a really good job in that show of playing like the grizzled Japanese police detective, if you guys like procedurals. And he's actually in Lee Sang-il's new movie, which is a record setter in Japan, Kokuho. He plays the like whiplash dad in that, and he does a great job. So this is his first, well, I don't know if it's his first, but this wouldn't go on to be his only collaboration with a director. Mm-hmm. The guy who plays the sheriff is named Koichi Sato, and Caleb, he is one of the leads in Sukiyaki Western Django, a classic film.
Who does he play in that?
One of the 2 main characters. I forget which one he plays, because it basically is a retelling of Yojimbo, of like, guy comes to town. Oh, what side do I choose? The evil guys or the less evil guys? Yeah. So he's one of the main two people, and he does kind of have that star power feel of he wants to be the leading man. He's not like really good as like a Gene Hackman supporting type of like the foil to Ken Watanabe.
No.
But in Sukiyaki Western Jenga, which nobody listening to this has seen ever, and you shouldn't, he makes sense in that.
Oh, that takes me back.
Oh. I am an unforgiven otaku at heart.
It's a hell of a thing killing a man. You take everything that we already have. Because they're communists.
The Japanese are communists. Yes, that's the right Asian.
Yeah.
The guy who plays the equivalent of Morgan Freeman in this is played by Akira Emoto. He's a veteran actor. Most famously, he was in a Koreeda movie called Shoplifters, which is very well received.
Oh.
Like 4.4 in Letterboxd, which is really high.
Palme d'Or winner, 2018.
Great movie from what I've heard. Haven't seen it yet. I've only seen one Koreeda movie, and I want to see more because he's a great director.
Interesting.
He is also famous for an appearance in one of our timely discussions when I talked about Rental Family. He is the old man who says in English, "Oh, really?"
That's him.
That is him. And it's kind of interesting that he had that role because I guess he really doesn't speak English, but he's good at playing an old man role in Japanese movies. But in terms of the West, he never really had anything that was too strong over there. The guy playing the equivalent of the Schofield Kid, also known as Goro, he was in another Koreeda movie, probably his most famous, called Nobody Knows. Also very well received, top 500 in Letterboxd. Koreeda is a pretty well received director, one of the most acclaimed in the cinephile world.
You're really playing to our Japanese listener right now.
The one Japanese listener, maybe Indonesian now. I thought I should mention this because the guy who plays the equivalent of Schofield Kid, that was his big role, playing the lead in Nobody Knows, and then kind of did nothing for like a decade. And then came back and they're just like, "You're an Unforgiven now." And he goes, "Oh, really?"
You are not forgiven.
You got forgiven for being gay.
I see here it says the of death. A Duke of Death. I think you'll find a Duke of Death. Guy says.
And you'll know this one, Caleb. Did the guy who played Japanese English Bob look familiar to you?
No.
Well, that's interesting you would say that. He is probably most well known in the West for playing Boss Tanaka in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. But for us, he is the friend of the main character in Audition. He is the guy who sets up the audition to have Ryo Ishibashi's character find all the women. He's the one who asks the questions during the interview about all this stuff. You remember? That is him. And he's playing a quite different role, which is cool. English Bob in the original is way cooler. It's a way more interesting...
It's an unfair contest. I will say that the casting of him is one of the good castings. I think that English Bob and his writer, I think that for what they are doing, I think the casting of those two characters is solid.
Yes.
And that's where it ends for me.
Okay.
And the whore, I guess. But her job is to stand there and look beat up.
Speaking of the whore is actually pretty well known in the West. Her name is Shioli Kitsuna, and she plays Yukio in the Deadpool movies. If that makes... Yeah, they're in Deadpool 2 and 3, there's like a Japanese character, and Ryan Reynolds is always like, "Hi, Yukio." And she's like, "Hi, Deadpool."
I don't know.
There's probably some other things she's been in the West, but that's like her most well-known role. If anybody listening to this who hasn't seen Jap Forgiven or other Japanese movies would know.
It's really funny because I didn't recognize anyone besides Ken Watanabe, and apparently the entire cast have been in things I've seen. just does not stick in my brain at all.
It happens.
Yeah.
There's one element of Jap Forgiven that I want to talk about that is completely new to the Unforgiven cinematic universe. So Goro, the equivalent of the Schofield Kid, there's an entire plot line where they reveal that he is half Ainu. Now, I don't know if you knew this ahead of time, and because most people wouldn't, but because I'm a weeb and I've researched history, I need to explain something real quick. So all the Japanese that you guys see now that are like salarymen, actors, whatever, are part of what they call in here the Wa race, W-A. That is basically the modern day Japanese. In the movie, there's a race, and in real life, called the Ainu, A-I-N-U. The Wa, regular Japanese, basically did a like Native American style like genocide against their race and their language. So much so that now there are only like 1,000 Ainu speakers in Japan.
Whoa.
So the Ainu are basically their equivalent of, I don't want to say Native Americans because the Wa were also there, but they were the northern in Hokkaido race that they basically said, and cut all their heads off.
They both smoke opium, right?
They both be doing that. They both be drinking sake out of the barrel. The Wa had, I guess, more weapons. They were a bigger ethnic group, and they said, okay, fuckers, we're going to cut your heads off. You have to learn standard Japanese instead of Ainu. And they go, oh, really? They don't listen, and they get, their earrings ripped out, which is a scene that happens. So Goro is half Ainu. I don't really know why they went in this direction. I think it kind of muddies the waters of, it's not a plot point that really matters. And the only reason why it ever comes back is because when Goro does what he does, they realize there's an Ainu relic on the scene, and they say, oh, we need to do more genocides now.
There's also the scene when they say, why are you going after this bounty? And he says, the Wa are unforgiven in my eyes.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
Yeah, there's also an additional scene that we need to talk about. So Ken Watanabe, his wife, who dies in both movies.
Spoiler alert.
It's the first fucking thing. It's before you see an actual film.
You are a Japanese spoiler.
So his wife is killed, and in Unforgiven, she is full Ainu. And before Ken Watanabe goes off to do the bounty, he goes to his father-in-law and says, hey, I'm about to do super murder maybe.
Yeah.
And his father-in-law is go, oh, okay, you might not be forgiven for this. And it's kind of like whatever scene. I don't really care about it. It doesn't make sense that it's really in the movie.
Yeah.
But these movies are pretty similar runtimes. They're barely over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me think it's what did they cut out from the original and then they replaced it with this Ainu plotline? And also, it feels like a lot is cut out in Unforgiven, but I don't really know what they make it up with.
So this is something that reminded me of our other foreign remake episode where we're watching Spike Lee's Bold Boy, and we're like, well, I'm 50 minutes in, and the plot is where the other movie was at 50 minutes, but I feel like 3 times less stuff has happened. You're shooting yourself in the foot, making your movie just not really congeal.
The comparison is what kills this movie. I mean, like you said, if you didn't know what Unforgiven was... you had never seen a movie before, but you were Japanese, and you said, I'm going to put on Lee Sang-il's Unforgiven. You'd be like, oh, that's fine.
I don't even think I'd say that. I think I'd go, that was boring. I think I would have not finished it. I was bored.
I mean, to be argumentative, that is an abstraction, because you've obviously seen movies, and you can't really think about your mindset if you had never seen a movie before. That's too far removed from reality, where it's I don't know if I can believe that.
I don't think it's too far removed because I've had that experience. I've watched movies that were criticized by certain people who had a reason to criticize it that I was oblivious to, where I didn't like it anyway. And I'm just saying, as a movie, this is not something that would interest me. The characters are boring. I didn't go into this expecting it to compare to Unforgiven. I'm I wanted to do something. If it's a remake, please go in your own direction and do something different. And I was just watching it going, what they did different is less interesting. And what they did the same is just the same but less interesting. I just didn't find it that, and I wouldn't recommend this. I wouldn't be you should watch Japanese Unforgiven. Well, if you want to watch the Unforgiven story, go watch Unforgiven. And if you want to watch a Japanese movie, this is not great. There's tons of better Japanese movies with samurai.
That is true. A ton of Kurosawa movies, Harakiri, some of the Takashi Miike stuff Blade of the Immortal.
Sukiyaki Western Jenga. I've only seen 2 scenes, but they were great goddamn scenes starring Quentin Tarantino.
We have to watch it at this point. I mean, we mentioned it in 5 episodes.
Let's watch it. Let's fucking watch it.
Should we watch it tonight?
Yeah. We'll do a commentary. Live commentary.
Okay.
Tonight.
Okay.
On YouTube. We'll do it like Shia did when he watched his old films. We'll just go, really? That's okay.
One thing that I really dislike about this movie is how they handle the guilt of the main character, and also of the Schofield kid and his equivalent. In Unforgiven, it is not really revealed until the end of the extent of William Money Clint Eastwood's actions. You kind of hear tale about certain things, and there's legend. In this one, it is incredibly explicit what Jubei the killer, Ken Watanabe, did. They say it within the first 30 minutes, less than that, honestly. And this probably plays to the temperament of the Japanese people of they're more explicitly outspoken about what somebody has done, and then they judge them in public. Meanwhile, in the Western world, there's this guilt culture of, I can't believe I did this. This is something that I have to live with. But in the East, there's the shame culture of, you did this thing, it's out in the open, and we're going to go neener, 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 and then that's going to be that, maybe in your entire life. This is something that I guess is just kind of a thing of we're Westerners, so the guilt appeals to us more than the shame of the Eastern adaptation.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I was kind of conscious watching this because you saw this before me, and I knew that you were going to like it more before I'd even seen a frame of it. I was just like, whatever this movie is, Nick will have a more positive reaction because it's going to be, I knew going in that it was well received. So I'm like, it's going to be fine for what it is. But I think that Eastern mindset, philosophy, whatever, is just something that you vibe with generally. Well, at least more than I do.
Well, what I'm saying is I vibe with the Western mindset more, but that's the reason why we don't connect with it as much is because we're not Asian. We're not Japanese.
Well, but you do connect with it more than me.
On a very minuscule level. Okay, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs, but you and I are in the same camp, but I guess I do understand it more, barely, but I don't like it more.
You understand it more? It went over my head?
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
I get whatever.
You are not in my camp. I'm in Big Whiskey all alone. I'm Lil Bill, and you're English Bob, and I'm going to rape you.
I'm William Money, and I'm...
What you're saying is that the movie, it's a matter of taste.
Yeah.
I have it.
No, I'm agreeing with you, Caleb. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that the reason why that we can't connect to it as much is because we're not Japanese.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay, so you're sucking my penis. Stop sucking my dick, Caleb.
I would say that this is a much better experience than the previous 4 and Remake episode.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But this is a similar experience to when I watched Infernal Affairs after seeing The Departed. It's, even though the Japanese one here, even though the Asian movie here is the remake, whereas with The Departed, The Departed was the remake. I saw The Departed first, and I saw Unforgiven first, obviously. And I had a similar experience where I'm going from a movie that has a certain plot that I like, with a cool idea, and I'm going from the movie that I've seen where you have that cool idea and a good plot and really interesting characters and just a hell of a cast and fantastic performances. And it just feels like every single aspect of the movie is just top notch and its own unique creative thing and original voice. And it just feels like it exists completely alone. Like there's no other movie that's quite like it. And then I watch the Asian movie and I go, yeah, same plot, similar way it's laid out, but I don't connect with any of the characters. I don't feel like I really give a shit, et cetera, for different reasons between the two. But I had a similar kind of experience of same, but less. When I finished Jap Forgiven last night, it ended and I went, well, I've seen Unforgiven in Japanese.
Yeah.
With, very little to really even think about. I think the movie, the plot is fresh in my mind because I've seen 2 versions of Unforgiven in the last few days.
Yeah.
But most of what's unique about the movie is probably already left, and I'm less than 24 hours from when I saw it. It's going to disappear from my mind very quickly.
I think a problem with this is that most of the characters in Jap Forgiven aren't morally gray, unlike the original where you have William Money, where it's him going and collecting the bounty on these 2 men that disfigured a working girl is a good thing, but also he has a past and also really is fighting against the town sheriff and going to kill somebody actually good, because he is the law. It's there's a moral quandary there. In Jap Forgiven, the sheriff is explicitly evil. Mm-hmm. He is just abusing people. He actually, this isn't even in the original. He goes to Ken Watanabe in the scene where he confronts him about handing in his guns and swords in this one. Mm-hmm. And he marks him. He cuts his cheek, which I was like, whoa, hold on. So you kind of take the nuance away of that character of Gene Hackman being you need to get the fuck out because you're going to cause problems. Mm-hmm. And he ends up causing problems. But are they good? Are they bad? Up to the viewer to decide. In this one, he's hey, I'm the evil sheriff in Washiro. I'm going to cut your face and be evil. And it's well, I don't really enjoy the story that much now. And this might be a temperament thing of Japanese people want the good and the evil. They want the Tengoku and the Jigoku. Caleb, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So he is Jigoku. You don't get it.
That's low, right?
Jigoku is hell. Yes. Okay. Tengoku is heaven.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that I just didn't like. And this may be a temperament thing, but I believe it is more a plot failing where they just say, hey, we need the evil moment right here. Yeah. Where Gene Hackman was like, I understand.
Exactly. And then when the movie goes where it goes, you don't feel, or at least I didn't feel any kind of way about whereas in Unforgiven, like, I'm choked up at the end. Like, there's a line that one character says in the original Unforgiven, they say, I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're right and they're wrong. I mean, that's kind of true with all the characters, but the 4, or I guess 5 technically is Morgan Freeman, but his character is his character is objectively just like a good person. I mean, they're going to go kill people, and he is a killer of the past, but he is the most like moral fiber you're going to get in the movie, basically.
Yeah.
With Clint Eastwood's character, with the Schofield Kid, with Little Bill, with English Bob, all of them in their dynamics with each other, you know, you can make arguments of who's right and who's wrong on a number of different subjects. And English Bob, like, if you take it that Gene Hackman is lying about English Bob's history with Two Gun Bill or what, you know, whatever the thing. If you take it such that Gene Hackman is just saying that to embarrass him or humiliate him and maybe exaggerating himself, you could watch the movie and say English Bob was justified.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch it and you believe Gene Hackman, you go, Gene Hackman was justified until he wasn't.
Yeah.
This character was unjustified until they were. The Schofield Kid is annoying and you hate him until he, you know, has a grown-up moment.
A human moment, yes.
All of the characters are not... they're gray and they're always in motion on the good and bad scale. They're not... It's not like they start bad and then they're good. Mm-hmm. If they're kind of bad, then they're kind of good. You like them, then you dislike them, then you care, then you don't. Yes. In this movie, it's like just static.
Ken Watanabe, he starts off as like gray, and then it's just like, well, you have the evil sheriff who marked you, and you also have the guys who absolutely, like, you know, just slashed up prostitute. I do have to say, so the brothers in here, in the original, you have the one evil brother who slashed her up, and then he makes his brother hold her while he does the deed. Mm-hmm. In this one, like I said, it is literally more black and white, where you have the one guy who's like, and he cuts her up, and then the one guy is like behind, he's like, what the fuck is going on? He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So he is an actual like victim of circumstance in this one. And it's kind of funny because when you put it that way, in the original, the prostitutes were like, hey, you know, he helped out, but, you know, he went against us girls, so he's part of the bounty. In this one, the courtesans or prostitutes could have been like, well, that one was fine. Yeah. The other one is the one who cut her up and did everything.
He was just in the building when the bad thing happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest downcoming of this, is just the pure black and white nature. The gradient of gray is completely gone. You have the characters who are good but have like a little like, I don't know, cheeky thing about them, or the characters who are like full bad. Mm-hmm. There really is no... Like I said, gray area. There's nothing really interesting to latch on to. Can we get into like spoilers about specifically the ending and the targets?
Sure, yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
If we didn't talk about it in the first part, we're going to go into spoilers about what happens in the movie. So we would recommend the original Unforgiven.
Skip to this time code to avoid spoilers.
1 hour, 48 minutes, 5 seconds. If you watch it knowing how it ends, you're cheating yourself of a great experience. You've been warned.
So the way that the first target is killed, the bystander in both movies, is quite different. So in the original, there's this ambush where you have the 3 main cast, Clint Eastwood, Schofield Kid, and Morgan Freeman, and they attack him from a higher angle. This also happens in Unforgiven. And they shoot at him with a repeater. They wound him, and then in the original, Clint Eastwood takes it from Morgan Freeman after Freeman says, I can't do it. So he shoots him, and this is very slow, drawn out, just like shot to the gut. Just, I'm dying.
Mortally wounded, but it's going to take him like 10 minutes to die.
It's very disgusting in the sense of like, you killed a guy, but it wasn't clean. You know, you did your job.
He's going to suffer.
He's going to suffer. You completed the job. You know, that is what you're paid to do. In Unforgiven, they also attack from a high angle. They shoot him off the horse, and it looks good. I mean, the vistas in Unforgiven do look beautiful, but it is just Japan, so everything's going to look beautiful. You don't have that vacant sadness that you have in America or Wyoming, because it's just a bigger country. You know, they can't do that one for one, but Japan has this more like beautifully tragic background. When they shoot the guy, the other people kind of clear out because Goro, the Schofield Kid, is like shooting at them. They go up to him, and their equivalent Morgan Freeman is like, I can't do it as well. So Ken Watanabe takes his sword out and puts him down. I don't know which I prefer better. I guess if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the original because it's more tragic. But it is also disgusting in some sense. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Probably not as much as you hate it or prefer the original.
I don't hate Job Forgiven at all.
I'm just saying that scene where they execute the first target explicitly instead of letting him die.
No, yeah, I don't mind that. I think I said this earlier. I prefer going your own way. If you're doing a remake and you're going to change things, go ahead and I'm not a purist. Anything. That's not the original. I have the original. I can go watch it.
Yeah.
If you change anything, great. If it works better, awesome. I think it works fine. I mean, it's more of a, I guess, a samurai thing to be like, I'm going to do the noble thing. It's a more, you know, Japanese coded action to take. So it makes sense.
It makes sense for the temperament of the Japanese people. And maybe they would find that, like, Americans would be like, hey, you shoot the guy and you kind of give him his peace so he can make peace with God and die peacefully. Yeah. Maybe the Japanese say, hey, you put the sword through him, you saved him a dishonorable death. I don't know. I'm not Japanese. We're not Japanese. At least last time I checked.
You are Japanese. I mean, the fact that you can retain any information you've already laid out from this without having to look at notes, I mean,
okay,
it's just true. I know Japan, there's like the island, there's the curve, and there's the place where the nuclear happened. The ultimate ending, it's not really that tragic for me because nobody's really that dirty, you know?
I will agree. I feel like most, like, foreign language remakes, just in general, even if it's English or something else, really don't have any reason to exist. Unless it was something of like, this movie was like a silent film in the 30s and then we remade it into something different. Like, for example, one of my favorite movies is The Thing, and it's completely changed from Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World. It's like not even really the same movie, but they just have to say it's an adaptation because of the same source material and because whatever.
And unlike The Assignment, Unforgiven wasn't like a big hit in Japan, right?
The way you phrase that is The Assignment was a big hit, was it?
We've talked about this maybe off mic, how things like The Assignment, you'll go, oh my God, that made $900 million in Germany. Like, there's just or oh my God, Dog Eat Dog is like the Italian highest grossing film this year.
Sure.
And you're like, how is that possible? Sure. There's some movies where you go, really? Yeah. I don't think Unforgiven can possibly be that well regarded in any country that isn't either America or very westernized. Like, how much can they even love Unforgiven? It's not like it's a money grab. Like, oh my God, we make our own version. We want to everybody go see it. Like, I mean, don't care.
It is a very like Japan centric movie, like remake. They probably made it just of the fact of like, hey, we have this IP and we have a director who had made things beforehand that I haven't seen, but was popular. Where they said, you know what, do your own thing that way. You can make some money off it. I mean, it's Japanese Hollywood. They're making yen over fist.
Yeah. I will say, you are the forgiven because I do forgive you for making me watch this movie.
Okay. Thanks.
Just want to add that in there.
Sure. Whatever. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've made you watch.
No, that's why I'm saying you're the forgiven.
Okay. It is a 7 at least on IMDb.
Really?
This was pretty well received in Japan and also among people who aren't us and racist and
okay, speak for yourself there.
This was decently received. I think it made money. Lee Sang-il went on to create the highest grossing live action Japanese movie of all time, so he's still getting work. All these people in this movie are still getting work. So this didn't kill anybody's careers. This isn't like a dark blemish on anybody's career. So cool. I don't want people's careers to fail for just doing work.
I want them to fail if they say yes to something that's like compromising. You know, like if you make unforgivable, no pun intended, trash, I do want your career to go down because that's the risk you run when you offend me.
Okay, so like if Ryan Coogler remade 8.5, but he called it an 8.5. HAF.
He called it an ounce.
If he remade that with just some straight up individuals, those people deserve to be blacklisted. No pun intended.
And she owes you. She's just saying with called blocking, where he put people in he give fuck.
So Spike Lee comes in. He's like, yeah, so I watched a movie about Fanini.
I saw Ryan Coogler's new film, Friday Now. I said, Ryan! You just done something special. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Get these fucking sinners out of my country. Send them to Japanese so they can go make Jap Forgiven too.
Dude, send them to Japan so they get hate crimed in Don Quixote.
I'm developed new series. It's called Chang Forgiven. I said Chang Forgiven, folks.
I almost spit out my sake I'm drinking right now. I didn't even plan this, actually. That I'm drinking this during Jap Forgiven. That was a pure coincidence.
You're Japanese, dude.
The second target in Jap Forgiven is killed in, I think, a more engaging way. It's not something that I inherently prefer over the original, but in the original, the Schofield kid waits until the actual evil guy who cut up the hoe is in the outhouse, and he ambushes him and shoots him not quickly, but he takes his time, shoots him about 3 times, puts a bullet in his head, and leaves.
He hesitates.
He does.
Which gives them a disadvantage because they heard the first gunshot.
Yes, and it is the problem of he's killing a man for the first time. He says he's killed 5 men before, but, it turns out that's a fib. In Unforgiven, it's done well. I like that scene, It kind of happens, and they just say, okay, we gotta fuck off out of here. In Jap Forgiven, same thing, except they're hiding out in the town instead of a farm. Mm-hmm. Did you notice this? Mm-hmm. It's something that I don't like that change. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because they're on guard.
It doesn't make any sense because they know there's a bounty on their heads, and they're like, hey, let's hang out in the place where the crime happened that the bounty killers will check.
Yes.
And then they're surprised when bounty killers arrive and kill them.
Yeah, so that's a little weird. Big Bad Jap comes out, and he's like, I need to take a big honkin' shit. And the Ainu Goro Schofield kid busts the door down, and what does he do? Does he shoot him first with a gun?
In Jap Forgiven?
Yeah.
Oh, God. See, this is what I mean. It's already leaving my mind. My memory of it is that they kind of they get in a scuffle and they're both trying to get a weapon, but they're both stopping each other from getting it. And that kid prevails just by headbutting him or something and then getting out his weapon.
He headbutts him and he has his Ainu Japanese knife that he has on his offhand holster and he takes it and he stabs him and he gets the upper hand that way. I don't hate it. I think it's a decently shot scene. I think it's fine. I don't think it doesn't spit on the original in any way. I don't think really anything in here spits on it inherently. It's just bad compared to it. I don't think it's oh, we're going to do this way better and in a haughty way.
The movie's not disrespectful.
No.
You don't feel like they're saying we're going to do the real version.
No, by no means. So he stabs him with the knife and he leaves it in him, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the sheriff comes out and he's like, hey, so there's a fucking Ainu knife in this guy. And lo and behold, the one guy who is traveling with the evil bounty hunters we think is an Ainu guy because the Japanese are very racist. They can tell which Asians are Asians by looking at them. They're just the Japanese are basically white people, honestly.
Sure, if you must.
If we had to accept one, it would be the Japanese.
I think we must have said many times on this podcast, because we do it all the time in person, that if you had to allow one in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
If you had to pick one country to say, you guys get unchecked migration, it's Japan.
Of people who are just yeah, you're kind of like us, but you just look different.
Well, just period. It's okay, America is going to actually have borders except for one country. I would choose Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. Even most of Europe is just too stupid now. But yeah, Japan, they kind of get it. Yeah. I like what they do. So this scene in Jap Forgiven is fine. It's cool. I think it's a change that I don't really mind. And Lee Sang-il is probably a more, and I've only seen 2 movies of his, a more bloody director than Clint Eastwood. He has violence in his movies, but for having seen this and Kokuho has a decent amount of blood in it, which is kind of surprising for what is just amounts to kabuki theater and just people in robes doing things and performing on stage. It is surprisingly violent, which is cool. I wonder, Kayla, I don't think you'll like Kokuho, but I think it would be interesting if you ended up watching it after Jap Forgiven to be I kind of see some similarities. He's a good director. Yeah. I think he's a good director.
This movie, that is a good point you make, and I didn't think about this. The movie Unforgiven, I mean, obviously it's an anti-violence movie in that it is designed for you to walk away with it and go wow, I feel sick.
Yeah.
And technically Jap Forgiven is too, Although the way the violence is depicted in Jap Forgiven, somebody like Tarantino could watch this and be like, well, this is way better. Yeah. Like, if you like movie violence, if you get excited by seeing blood and guts and gore and whatnot, this movie is going to serve you a lot more, whereas in Unforgiven, it's like plain and simple.
It is matter of fact.
And part of that is kind of, I think, a reaction to Gene Hackman, because Clint Eastwood wanted Gene Hackman to play that role. And Hackman originally declined because he read the script and was like, I don't want to do any movies that glorify violence. And Clint Eastwood was like, no. That is not what I want to do. Trust me. This is how we're going to make it.
Yeah.
And I would bet that Eastwood probably downplayed. I mean, because in a script it says, he shoots the guy.
Okay.
And then it's like you can film that where someone gets shot and they go, oh, and they grab their stomach and fall down.
Yeah.
You can shoot that like Django, where someone gets shot and their fucking stomach explodes.
Exactly.
And a gallon of blood flies all over the walls. And not that Eastwood would tend to film things the second way, but I would bet that Unforgiven, the final product, is probably leaning like further in the opposite direction, probably to appease Hackman or get him on there. Maybe Eastwood already wanted to do that, but the movie doesn't make any... You couldn't confuse that the movie is making a statement that no violence without like a jury and level-headed people is ever justified. Yeah. Whereas Jap Forgiven, you could watch and go, well, if you are a just samurai, then it kind of is cool.
Yeah. If you're just doing a bounty and evil people have tried to kill you and have cut your face up and mutilated you, you are doing everything, within your right to do that.
So the message is a little lost. It's like they're trying to have the same message, but they didn't quite stack the dominoes how they needed to achieve that.
Oh. Caleb, what if we get a Korean version of Unforgiven that is just pure like Park Chan-wook violence, like just gray people just cutting each other's heads off? Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool.
It would be cool. Yeah. It would completely take away all the nuance of the original film, but that would be interesting.
Here's what I'm saying. Chinese remake of $1 Million Baby, but they pull the plug immediately because she's a woman.
The movie's 5 seconds long. They say, you're about to have a daughter. Oh, kill her. In the credits.
One child nation, bitch. Switch. Flip.
Damn.
Mystic River, but Chinese. And he's saying, is that my daughter in there? Yes. Yeah, your daughter's dead. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, China. Remake all of Clint Eastwood's films. You do it right.
The 1513 to Paris, but it's just the Wiggers trying to blow up the train and they get their heads cut off and put in a camp.
This only speaks to how American Clint Eastwood's movies really are, because they don't translate into Chinese.
Yeah.
Any of Clint Eastwood's plots in a Chinese movie, they would just be over in a few minutes.
That is true. Yeah. Man. This gets into the point of where this becomes something that I think that Jap Forgiven, to my sensibilities, does better than the original.
Okay.
I like the final confrontation in the bar in Jap Forgiven better, and what happens in it. And I am a violent person. I love killing. I love murder and death. No, but I do like violent movies. I love Audition. I love RoboCop. I love The Thing. I love Hard Boiled.
To people who don't know, by the way, Audition, Nick showed it to me, is fucking sickening. I like it. It's good, but it is gross.
Yeah. Takashi Miike, you did Sukiyaki Western Django, which is your second best movie. Not really. So I'm going to show Caleb that tonight.
It's the first best.
It might be the first best. So I like sickening stuff. I like stuff that is violent and is like, I mean, the ending scene in Unforgiven is good. I like it by itself.
Yeah.
I just prefer this more because of how I like violence to be shown.
Sure.
So in the original, Clint Eastwood walks in while Gene Hackman and the posse in town are just like, okay, so we got to get together and we got to kill this guy because he's evil. And he's like, what's up, fuckers? In Jap Forgiven, Ken Watanabe walks in while they're doing the exact same thing. And the sheriff is like, okay, interesting. In Jap Forgiven, he walks in and immediately just like blows the shop owner, the pimp, away, and that happens in the original, but it is a lot more bloody in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So when the fight goes down and he has a misfire in both movies with his rifle, and the sheriff is like, okay, I'm about to fuck you up. In Unforgiven, it really isn't like a ceremonious shot onto Gene Hackman's character. In Jap Forgiven, he takes his fucking sword and he drives it into his stomach. And instead of getting a clean cut through, he drives it through and it snaps off. So his sword is stuck in his gut, and he's just like, he's like gurgling blood out, and I go, whoa, hold on. This movie has been pretty matter of fact, like this guy is dying. It's not, besides the one in the outhouse, it's been kind of like...
It's tame.
It's pretty tame. And in this part, you go balls out, and I loved this. And then... Ken Watanabe kills like 20 fucking people in there, and they go, oh my god, he is really Jubei the Killer. He is crazy.
It goes full crazy 88 Kill Bill style. Like, and I don't fault you at all for preferring that scene or preferring anything about the Japanese version, really. Like, I'm not protective of Unforgiven the way that like a parent is with their child. Okay. It's like, you didn't think my kid did the best? You didn't give him the ribbon? You put him in, coach? You know, like if you prefer anything about the Japanese version, I don't hold that against you or think it's like the wrong take.
Okay.
And I will say that in Unforgiven, the thing that I like about that movie the least is the way that the final shootout is shot and edited once everyone starts pulling out their guns. I think everything up to and including when the fucking misfire, shoot him down, that close-up of Gene Hackman, from that moment until everyone is dead, I think it's just kind of clumsily done. And this movie won the Oscar for best editing, and it's like, this is the moment where you need good editing, but it's like the shots aren't quite... It's just like it cuts a little too soon to some people where it doesn't feel like the shootout is happening very quickly. It feels like everyone is waiting to get their guns out.
They are, yes.
And it's like they're hesitating a second and it's like, no! Like, I want to put the movie into an editing timeline. Just if you just trim out a few frames here and there, it would be so much better. And so the satisfying, like, just killing of people, yeah, Unforgiven does it better. But I do prefer everything else about the original scene, like, leagues ahead. I mentioned earlier the emotion of the, I don't deserve this moment. When Hackman, there's a shot in the movie that, like, it makes the hair stand up on my arm thinking about it. When Hackman is confronting Eastwood and he says, you just shot an unarmed man. And then he says, you're William Money, killer of women and children and everything. He's one barrel left, shoot him down. During that whole monologue, I'm just like, and I feel like the whole movie, all this pent up emotion is coming out of me. And in this one, I'm like, he's here to kill the guys, and he does. I didn't have that tension in me where I'm watching these two unstoppable forces who I know are capable of bad things, they're unknown quantities to each other. And I just don't want any guns to go off because I love both of these characters. That's all just missing from this one. So it's only the violence, good violence, but I'm not Japanese.
And I love Japanese violence. I love Takashi Miike. I love Ichi the Killer. I'll have to show you that one day. There's a guy who just like cuts a woman's head off with like a roller skate. Like, it's crazy. Okay. It's amazing. And I love that type of violence. So it really just appeals to me.
Yeah.
And this is literally, like you said, it's going to be a thing of just like, do you prefer that more like kind of reserved, like, I don't want to call it like S. Craig Zoller violence where it's like reserved, but it's like meant to be disgusting. But this one is meant to be, look at what he's doing. Yeah. It is meant to be a spectacle of it. Meanwhile, Clint Eastwood is like, look at how bad humanity can be. Look at what happened. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be liking this.
The stuff that is romanticized about these violent people is shown in just a very unromantic, matter-of-fact fashion.
Yeah.
In both movies.
Yeah.
Like, not that the Unforgiven one is hyper-realistic, but it is not romanticizing what they're doing. It's ugly.
Yes, because Ken Watanabe is going up and he's just like stabbing a guy once or twice, just like the classic Kurosawa samurai movies. Like once he'll maybe like take a gun and shoot one guy.
Yeah.
And then to his credit, in the Japanese version, he is getting way more injured. Like, he's getting shot, he's getting stabbed, but he's, like, tanking it like a badass, which is kind of, I was getting hyped up. And it kind of made me ready to see more violence, where in Unforgiven, I was like, oh, this should stop because bad things are happening. And like I said, Unforgiven is just the better movie overall. I like the ending in that as too. But as somebody that likes seeing people's heads get cut off and just blood spurting out, like the end of Sanjuro when they do that duel.
You were touching your penis.
I kind of was. I was touching my penis. I was touching the glands. I was touching the vas deferens. I was getting a little hard, I will admit. And I like this at the end where he kills. In the original, how many people does he kill in that ending should it's at least like 6.
I was gonna say it's something like 5 or 6 because it's Lil Bill and at least 4 henchmen. Because he has his like his marshals or whatever.
It's Lil Bill. It's deputies. the owner of the store. And
before that's true. Yeah. Probably 6 total. Yeah,
6
Lil Bill, 4 deputies. Yeah.
Okay. And then this one is just like 3 times that. So, jury's out, whatever you like more. If you think that the end of Unforgiven deserves bigger violence, something that is escalated to a point of we are never coming back from this, or you prefer like, I need to kill the people and anybody that gets in my way, but I don't want to go so far out that I destroy all my humanity, because Clint Eastwood at the end of that is like, anybody that shows their face is going to get shot. Like he's walking to his horse and he just rides away fairly unscathed. He gets injured a bit. But in this one, Ken Watanabe talks to the author and is like, say everything that happened exactly how it was. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit, but don't like fuck with my story. And if you mention the prostitute or Goro, the equivalent of Schofield Kid, I will find you and fucking kill you.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Just having that as a thing of just like, I will fuck you up. Do not fuck with me because I'm super cool.
I like that less. I think it's cooler if he's like William Money, where he's like, so who did you shoot first? And he's like, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you who I shot last.
Okay.
And the guy just runs out scared. Because like Eastwood doesn't give a fuck. His character doesn't give a fuck about how it's going to be written about. He was there to get the job done.
Sure.
And now he's ready to go kill more motherfuckers if he has to. I think that's a cooler, like that gives the impression of a guy who was deserving of the legend of being a guy you do not want to, you need to cross the street if you see him because he's that dangerous, Whereas this character's like, oh, Ken Watanabe, you are the Unforgiven. But then it's like he's good.
I mean, well, this is my counterpoint. He's scary because he says, "Do what I say, otherwise I will fuck you up when I read the story because I'm going to live."
I guess I just don't buy him.
It's a temper. I buy Ken. I mean, this is a thing of just like I can buy this part a little more.
Yeah.
It's just a temperament thing. I mean,
like I said, it's taste.
It's what we allow. No, and Sukiyaki Western Django is a 5-star movie.
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
It's not. It's not even half that.
I will like it more. I will probably like it more than Forgiven. I'll probably be hooting and hollering.
Oh,
dude, the Tarantino scenes were amazing.
Okay, sure.
In the worst way. I mean,
Okay.
Entertainment. I'm not saying it's gonna win like Best Picture. I'm just saying Sukiyaki Western Django has got to be a more exciting movie.
Yeah. I mean, because have you seen Yojimbo?
No.
I mean, if you've seen for a fistful of dollars, you've seen it. But
of course.
If you've seen that and you know the story, it's that, but like literally anime, basically.
That sounds amazing.
Okay, I guess you'll like it. I'll need to rewatch it, and you know what? We might need to talk about that one day.
I'm a Sukiyaki Western Django otaku.
The last thing that's different from the original movie about this that I don't like.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Is it the literal last shot and what it means compared to the last shot of the first movie?
It's more the last thing that's said and what you expect. It's not the last shot, but after Ken Watanabe walks out of Forgiven, he gives the money to Goro and he says, okay, and...
Yeah.
So the equivalent of the Schofield Kid and the cut up whore walk out and say, okay, so Ken Watanabe said, you need to take care of my kids because I need to go fuck off somewhere. They go and take care of his kids and kind of have a relationship. And she's like, he's a nice guy,
Yeah.
And Ken Watanabe's walking in the snow just going, oh. And the movie ends. And you're like, wait, hold on. So you just left your children?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, in the original, doesn't he take his kids with the money and like take him to a better place?
To California, yeah.
To California. And then there's like a credit scroll of like, oh, his mother-in-law came and visited grave and was like, wait, why did you marry the evil guy? And it's kind of like a thing of like, oh, he moved on.
It bookends the movie of it was this enigma why this good woman married this guy and had kids. The movie ends with it was an enigma to the mother when she showed up, how they had disappeared and she heard a rumor that the old man went to California.
I don't like that.
He actually got a new life. You don't like that?
I'm saying I don't like the Japanese version. The original one I like.
I was like, how do you...
No. The original is way better because it, makes sense. Again, this may be a Western sentiment thing, but I do like that way more.
Yeah.
I think the Jap Forgiven is like, why did he abandon his kids? Because he did this to give them money, but also was he so repentant that he's like, I can't face them? This may be a Japanese thing of just like, I cannot face my family because I killed Seraph of Hokkaido.
I don't mean this in the most obvious sense, because clearly I don't speak Japanese. But this is what I mean with the context thing I was mentioning at the very beginning of our discussion on Jap Forgiven, where I'm watching it and I'm like, well, there's so little going on under the surface that I can pick up on that I feel like they're speaking another language than me. Even though I have subtitles, I just feel like there's something missing where it's like I'm trying to follow a conversation between two people of a very different generation than me using very different slang, where they're basically saying to my ears kind of nothing. They're going like, oh, that's slay. Oh, what girl? Yeah. And I'm like, well, where's the story? But somehow they are communicating this whole tale of what happened yesterday with them and their friends or whatever, but me listening, and I'm like, well, I speak English, but all I'm hearing you say is like, yo, that shit cray, yo, really, girl. And I'm like, where's the adjectives? Where's the verbs? Yeah. What, like, it's, when the movie ends, it's like Bold Boy, where you're like, well, you changed the ending and you just messed with it. Like, I mean, that's valid as an ending to a story, but it doesn't feel like it was inevitable. It's like they just sat around and went like, fuck, what would people not expect? What if he just walks into the camera and he's Ken Watanabe and then the movie's over?
Like, with every other change in Jap Forgiven, I was going, oh, okay. Like, I was kind of along for the ride. Like, it wasn't egregious. And then at the end, I said, oh, what?
Yeah. And this is like one of the only things that actually like did bother me is I was like, wow, not only did they fumble it, you have like the perfect ending sketched out for you. Like the ending of Unforgiven, that shot and the music and the not credit, but the scroll of kind of the epilogue of what happened. It's all just like perfect. And you can do your own thing. You don't have to recreate that, but it's like you have a perfect ending that you could use. You said, let's do our own thing. Let's make it like, why would that character make those choices based on what we saw previously? It doesn't add up.
That doesn't make any sense, and I agree with you there, because they, like you said, they did set up, you could have had the I Knew Dad come to the homestead and been like, because I believe they had the grave there too, just been like, my daughter's here, and just like place flowers at it without the text scroll, because they didn't have that in Jap Forgiven.
Yeah.
You could have just had him come there and like be, I don't know, like reminisce on something like that, and just no talking, put flowers down, be like, okay, that's the end of Jap Forgiven. That would have been infinitely better than him being like, I fucked off into the snow? What is he doing?
What I thought they were going to change was that maybe, because in Unforgiven, the prostitute who has been cut kind of, she offers herself to Clint Eastwood's character at one point. She says, these other two girls are given free ones to your friends.
Yeah.
If you want, you can probably get a free one with them too. And he's like, eh. And then she's like, or you could with me. And you can tell that she's just like lonely, whatever. And the movie doesn't do anything with that. But if you wanted to, in this version, you could change it that maybe Ken Watanabe's character has some kind of maybe interest in the prostitute, or maybe just wanting to be a good man and like save her from a bad position, brings her back to the farm to like be his wife or whatever, even if it's a loveless marriage. I mean, that's what most Japanese marriages probably are at that time.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, actually most of the world at that time.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I used the money to buy seeds for new crops, and I'm going to have a little bit better of a life than I did before I went out and did this thing. Like, you could change that and that would make sense. But he's just like, dude, what if I became Dexter?
He does. He literally does. I'm going to Alaska. I mean, they're close to Alaska, honestly.
Yeah.
They're closer than, I mean, they're as close as us, honestly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Damn, that's fucked up. I didn't realize he just does Dexter mode, because he killed more people than Dexter.
So if you liked Dexter, Jap Forgiven is for you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend Jap Forgiven.
Over Unforgiven, no.
Not even over it, because it's like, if you watch Jap Forgiven, you've been spoiled in the story before you see the good one.
Yeah.
And if you watch Unforgiven, you have no reason to see Jap Forgiven because you've seen the superior version.
Okay, I do agree with you, because it's that sense of like I wouldn't recommend Old Boy at all, but it's that thing of like, if I had to, I would just recommend the Korean version, because it's like you're watching the best version possible. And I don't want people to experience the story and see all the spoilers of the bad version.
You wouldn't recommend Bold Boy, is what you're saying.
Bold Boy.
You would recommend Old Boy.
The Park Chan-wook Old Boy. That I would recommend.
Yeah.
As a movie, unrelated, if it was not an adaptation of Unforgiven, I would recommend Jap Forgiven by itself as a fine movie. But the fact that it is an adaptation of Unforgiven, I wouldn't recommend it in that sense. I would say watch Unforgiven. Don't watch anything else.
I'm going to bring back something you said earlier. You mentioned when I said the thing about I don't think I'd love Jap Forgiven even if I had never seen Unforgiven or it didn't exist. And you're like, well, I don't know if that really works. I don't know if what you're saying technically makes sense, though, because if you think about it, Nick, what you're saying is you would recommend Jap Forgiven not as a, companion piece to the original, but you would recommend it as its own thing. But the thing is, based on our conversation, like, I think you'd agree with the statement. If somebody watches Jap Forgiven, not having seen Unforgiven, they're missing out on the better movie.
Yeah.
And if they've seen Unforgiven, they're not going to like Jap Forgiven as much unless they're Japanese. Neither is optimal.
What I'm saying is if Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven never existed and Lee Sang-il wrote Unforgiven, did it just as a film.
Right.
In a world where Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven doesn't exist and never did, I would recommend this movie because I think it is fairly good. It's like a 7 out of 10.
So that means you're recommending this movie in a universe that we don't live in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that means you're not recommending it to people who are listening to this who might actually go out and watch a movie.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear.
No,
Clear.
You understand what I'm saying.
I do. I want to make sure it's clear to the listener.
Yeah.
I think if you run this back, you did say I would recommend.
In the universe that you, the listener, are living in, you should not watch it. You should watch the Clint Eastwood Unforgiven, okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the same page.
We'll have a good time.
We're on the same page, yes.
Can I read the Constitution to you?
the Constitution that you got? Yeah, go ahead.
No samurai shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, no time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
That's the Third Amendment of the Shogunate.
Don't watch Jap Forgiven. Do watch Unforgiven.
Yes.
Watch Mystic River.
Yeah.
Watch $1 Million Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Gran Torino.
Yeah.
You could watch Changeling. You could watch Space Cowboys. Watch High Plains Drifter.
Yeah.
Watch the Dollars Trilogy.
Yeah.
Watch Juror Number 2 on a Saturday afternoon on cable with a beer in hand.
Yeah.
Don't watch Suicide Squad starring Scott Eastwood.
Don't watch that. Watch Sukiyaki Western Django starring the sheriff from Jap Forgiven.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because it's a Japanese movie, but they had everybody speak English. So, Caleb, you are not ready.
He plays Rare Bear. You can't even say Little Bill in Japanese.
I'm a real Bill and I'm Sukiyaki. What a jungle. All right, guys, we watch that right now. That's the show, folks. Patreon.com/Your Older Brothers. Thank you for listening very much. Your Older Brothers podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Yob Podcast on Letterboxd. You Are Older Brothers on X, formerly known as Twitter. If you'd like to send us an email talking about how much you love Unforgiven and hate Jap Forgiven, or maybe vice versa, yourolderbrothers@gmail.com. Good night, folks. Thank you for listening.